Hi, welcome to Fun with Foraging with Raj and Holley. Raj is operating the camera, so you might not see him. But I'm here to guide you through the amazing world of foraging. Are you ready? Okay, we didn't actually forage this. For the record, we went to the farmer's market and well, I guess we gathered it from the farmer's market. That's very paleo of us. We have a whole assortment of fun things to tell you about. We're gonna start with stinging nettles. These are pretty fantastic. So I have to carefully touch these because I'm a little bit accident prone. So you can see the tiny little hairs on these. Those are actually stinging nettles, and they will create a histamine response. This plant has been used as medicine for a really long time for an assortment of ailments, urinary tract infections, and I'm drawing a blank at all the other things. There's a whole list. It's also very delicious. So we had some a few weeks ago, and then we had some just last week, and the difference in the leaf structure and the plant base has changed. A few weeks ago they were quite thin. Once the stinging nettle is fully grown, it is 25% protein in those stalks. You can use stalks as a replacement, these stalks as a replacement for hemp. So you don't want to eat them when they're full grown, you just take the leaves off and use the leaves. It's full of vitamin A, manganese, calcium. It's packed full of nutrients, and it's pretty darn tasty. We have a recipe for stinging nettle pesto on the website. The smell of the stinging nettle, it's like a cucumber spinach. Like, it's a really interesting, it smells sweet and cucumbery. So we've got stinging nettle, and then a couple weeks ago there was some other great things that we learned about. We love pea shoots, sunflower shoots, basically any microgreen. The nutrient value of a microgreen is exponentially higher than a full-grown plant. So these here are pea shoots. These are sunflower shoots. And then we have some clover cressy. Look at these, so beautiful. Great on top of soups or stews. We're doing an Ayurvedic cleanse and making khichdi, and it's lovely on some khichdi, adds some texture, tons of nutrients, crunch, flavor. It's just the way to do it. We also found a couple other unique foraged lettuces. Make sure I don't mess it up. So we're gonna start with lamb's quarter. So the guy at the farmer's market, we were asking questions about the lamb's quarter, and he just gives us a handful, like basically puts this much lamb's quarter in my hand and tells me to eat it. So I'm happily munching away in my hand salad at the farmer's market. It's quite delicious. It's also used quite often in Indian dishes. It's also used for animal feed, hence the name lamb's quarter. It's also used for chickens and pigs. The flavor is interesting. It's got this sort of umami or saltiness, a real unique minerality to it. So you can cook it and use it like a heartier spinach, or you can make a salad, but it gives it a minerality and a saltiness, which is really unique. I forgot to talk about the lamb's quarter and how fertile it is. First of all, if you have poor soil and you plant some lamb's quarter on there, it helps rejuvenate the soil, which is pretty cool. And also, I didn't realize this, the adult human female at puberty has 400,000 eggs ready to be fertilized. Well, that's a lot of eggs. And lamb's quarter has 75,000 seeds. A single plant, 75,000 seeds, which means it could take over if it wanted to. Pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. What do you think? Comment below. Miner's lettuce. This is called miner's lettuce because it was used by miners and during the gold rush so they didn't get scurvy. We foraged miner's lettuce and it's sweet with just a touch of bitterness, which is interesting. So it's really satisfying in spring dishes. You'll crave that bitterness, the astringency with the changing seasons. It can be cooked, steamed. It's also a nightshade, interestingly enough. I also picked up some morel mushrooms. If you check our website, we do have a few recipes for morels and a little bit of how to deal with them. These we picked up at the farmer's market yesterday and haven't done a thing with. If you've never had a morel, it's quite a treat. They have this really great texture. So if you are vegetarian or vegan, it's interesting because it has like a meat-like texture. They're quite firm. They cannot be grown in captivity. They can only, they've tried to grow them and recreate, and they can only be grown in the wild. Generally, they grow best in areas that have had forest fires. The ash and the heat helps release the spores and they pop up from the ash. So these are the phoenix of mushrooms. I suggest soaking them in a little bit of salt water. They can have slugs and a fair bit of grittiness to them. But they are super delicious. They will be expensive. You'll want to make sure that you take advantage of using them in a timely fashion or dehydrating them because they can't be grown commercially. They have to be foraged. And then our friend the forager had one last wild asparagus. No fiddleheads, we weren't there in time. There was a couple other things. This was his last bit of asparagus. So it's interesting in that commercial asparagus will have a long stalk and then just have these little bits at the top. This has the bits all the way up. And I think it's quite delicious. It's interesting, it's almost like when you eat pea shoots. Like the pea pods, snow peas, snap peas. That's what I'm trying to get at. If you like this video, we have more. Subscribe, like, share, or comment below. Make sure you check out our recipes for foraged morels and stinging nettle pesto, www.theprimaldesire.com.